Hi there, Sandra here from createinspain. Thanks for joining me. I showed a video a while ago on my making this Lazy Susan. Now I made it quite a while ago and it's still very good, and I've kept it on my shelf and I love it. But what I was using inside are just mugs with things, and they have a habit of falling over. And I didn't want to actually stick them in place because sometimes I like to just take a mug, put it on my table. So I've decided to make some inserts for this, and because I happen to have some paper backed foam board, I thought it was a good time to actually do it now. Now admittedly I have access to a 3D printer, and at some stage I might decide to 3D print these, but for the moment I want to check that I have the proportions and the heights and everything right before I waste my 3D print. So what I've done is I have devised some wedges. I did this in Shortcut slot and I cut them out from the foam. Now the easiest way of cutting this foam board stuff I have found is to move all the wheels away from the area in my cutter, so I don't allow the wheels to go over the surface. And I then do a very shallow cut. Basically I'm cutting through the paper on the top, which is quite tough stuff, and just into the foam. And I then take it off of the mat and I just put it onto my work surface, and I use a normal craft knife to do the actual full cut. And because you have a score line that is cut into it, your blade just naturally follows it, and it makes it so much easier to cut than it does if you're trying to do it freehand. So I've got my pieces cut out, and some of these I had done by hand and some I had used the machine on. I definitely recommend using the machine because it does make it so much easier, and you can see the effects are a lot better if you do it with the machine and then cut it afterwards. So the fact that these edges are a little bit rough isn't really going to be an issue because they're going to have sides on them. No one is going to see this. At the end of the day, it's going to be a base. And so those will fit in like that. And yeah, I will have containers that I can still move, but they're not going to be able to fall over in the same way. So I have my glue gun heating up already, as you might be able to see from here. So now I'm going to get my silicone mat out so I can do some heat gun gluing. Now, as it happens, I have some corrugated cardboard. Now, I was looking for a packet of this a couple of months back when my friend Alison was here, and I couldn't find any for love of money. But then I discovered that I'd bought a pack of craft card from Aldi or Lidl, whichever, and it had some corrugated sheets in it. But what I intend to do is do some of this height and some which are a lot shallower for things which I need to be able to access a bit more easily. For example, these would not go in something like that too well because I couldn't actually get at what I wanted to get at. So they will be different heights, and I suggest if you're going to do this, you decide what heights you want things to be before you do all of them the same height and then think, drat, I can't cut them down. So I think the easiest way of doing this is to actually do it so that you put some glue on and stick one side on with a little bit of an extra overlap on one side. And if you do it on a flat surface like this, you won't have the problem of trying to make sure it is level when you're holding it up in the air or something. So put the glue on and do it that way. This is the theory. We're about to find out if it works. So I'm going to put a stream of glue on here. And there we go, press in place until it's going to hold, which that will. I've got strings here. Okay, should have kept it on the mat for a little while longer till that actually solidified. But yeah, in general, the actual process worked. Now, as it happens, I know this is just ever so slightly too long to go around my triangle. So it's going to be long enough and I don't have to worry about that bit, which is good. So the next side, this is just going to curve around and again hold it in place. Now you might be wondering why I'm using the corrugated section to be on the outside, and that's because it's going to adhere a lot more easily to a smooth surface than a corrugated one. That just makes it more difficult if you use that side. But also it means if I want to take it out, there's a slight grip factor to it, I guess. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue just on this edge here so I can wrap the overlap first of all. Make sure that's well and truly stuck down before I stick something else to it, otherwise I'll just end up in a mess. And I can kind of put a crease up there. There we go, that's in place. Now let's see what I want to do here. I think I will trim off the excess. It's amazingly difficult to see where you're cutting when you have a corrugated card. It is really hard to see. There we go. So if I do that, that should be right. Again, put it onto a solid surface so I know it's nice and level. There we go. And oops, not stuck yet. Okay, that's better. And I can add a little bit of glue in this lip here to complete it. So that's it, the first one of my containers made. Now, if you still want to, you can weight this down. I'm not going to do it at the moment because supplies are a little more scarce. But you could put a layer of rice or baking beans, something like that, in the bottom. And you can either leave it there or you could cover it with another triangle just to create a heavy weighted base if you wanted to do that. So this is now going to be able to fit in here, and by the time I've got this filled up, these are not going to be able to fall over. So here is my finished carousel. It's worked really, really well. I have kept some of the jars that I was using and put them inside here just so that everything stays upright, because if you don't have a container filled, things will obviously fall to one side. But that just means that I can still access everything that I want to access in a very small space. There is no wasted space on this carousel at all. Now, if you're interested in making the carousels, I've actually done a video on making the carousels themselves, and I will link to that video. I will give you a link for the files for doing this. This is a 22 centimeter diameter carousel. It's on a smaller plinth. But yes, I mean, it rotates really well and it's got a heck of a lot of stuff on it, I think you'll agree. And it didn't cost me very much to make it. My Lazy Susan and my interior containers for it. Great storage, cheap and DIY. Thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye bye.